Hey, comrades. Hope you're all doing well. So now we're moving on to Saga Frontiers Genesis 2, which is part of like the Saga Frontier CD collection. There's part 1 and part 2, or 1 and 2, however you want to look at it. So when last we left Nick, who was the main character of the previous game, who I always call Comrade, he had defeated the enemies of Cyprus and the allies of Yom, gotten the sword back, but his arms turned to stone, and so that's sad. But now he's the king, and things are going great. So this one starts. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe, and comment on this video. All right, so this one opens up. We have this evil guy, Warderer, something like that. So Warderer, and then he's got Barbara and a couple other bad guys, and they're sacrificing some sort of king to Yom for the power of Yom, or to help resurrect him or something. I don't know, it was a little unclear. Anyway, but this is clearly a map I'm going to visit later, because there was like a treasure chest in the corner. And I love that even though they put this on a CD, and they could have easily had 2 different maps, one without the treasure chest and one with the treasure chest, that is obviously just... They chose not to. They just used the same map, so that's great. Then, what's his name? Somebody gets summoned. They show up, and we find out that from all this conversation that Nick, leading the army of Cyprus, is coming to defeat this evil empire, this evil community of Yom, and that Gordarnia is also going to send people out, but they got to like get on ships and kind of head over there, so they're a little behind. But Cyprus isn't going to wait. So the idea is that, okay, so is he bringing the sword with him, the sword of Hydra? That's like Yom's weakness. And the answer is no. So he sends this new guy down to the castle to get the sword after the army leaves, right? So that they have no way of actually defeating Yom and his minions and such. So cool. The Warderer, who's like kind of the main villain here, he also sends Barbara, and that's why I know her, because she comes up more, to help with that mission, and so she heads off. And then the eye patch old man guy, like, he's just like, cool, well, I'm gonna go do my own shit, and wanders off. There's a blue armored guy, and he's about to leave, but then Warderer is like, are you upset? Do you want to get your revenge on Nick, King Nick? And the guy like turns around and he's like, for my brother's death? Because if you remember, we killed like a green armored guy in Shining Force Genesis 1. He's like, the strong shall survive and the weak shall perish, and if my brother was not strong enough to defeat him, then I will go, but it's not for revenge, it's to prove my strength. And Warderer is like, very good! So then we switch back down to Cyprus, and King Nick is standing with like his troops, which include like Gaiden. Oh, no. So he comes out of the castle with Mayfair, who can see now, apparently. Now, I don't think it specifically says that she can see now, but if I remember correctly, she was like cursed or something to not be seen. So now that they've defeated Wardle and all those guys, I'm assuming now she can't see. But she is like the queen, or like the advisor to the King Nick, something like that. Anyway, so King Nick comes out, and he says he's going to take his army and head to Yom or whatever. So him and Gaiden like have like a little chit chat about what's going on, and then they hear someone's like, oh, help. And so they kind of move forward, and we find this mage lady. I can't remember what her name is, but she's got this kid who's like all busted up, and the King Nick's like, oh, take him inside and heal him and take care of him. And then the mage lady is like talking to King Nick, and they're going back and forth, and Mayfair comes down, and they're going back and forth just about like what's going on and what needs to be done. So King Nick's like, all right, so we're gonna leave you guys in charge of like protecting the castle, which includes Mayfair, this mage, and a couple other fucking goofballs. And I say that because it's like the army leaves, and then it's like sometime later, who knows how long actually it was, they are all doing guard duty, which means their sprites are just moving back and forth in like the castle grounds. And the new kid, he's now Comrade. I have no idea what his actual name's supposed to be. And then we have the typical, we have 2 knights, and then we have the mage, and then we have a healer, and then we have the sword, like the dwarf. right? 2 knights. Oh, no, then we have a monk. So we have 2 knights, a monk. I don't think we have any archers. The mage... So the monk heals... Okay, hold on. So we have the monk, the mage, 2 knights, the hero. I'm missing somebody. I think we do have a... We don't have any long range. The knights both are carrying javelins, so they can hit like a little further off, and then the mage. Most people can do more long range stuff, but there's no archer and no bow knight, none of that stuff. Yeah, that must be a gladiator. I'm trying to remember what he looks like. Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah, he's got like a goofy helmet. Anyway, so the boy knight, the warrior, and the monk are all fucking goofballs. They're like trying to dodge out of like doing guard duty because nothing's obviously going to happen or whatever. And right when they're having this argument with like the mage, who's very serious, the castle gets like both sides of its walls get like blown in, or the castle courtyard, and battle commences. So at this point, this battle is exceedingly easy, and the characters are gaining a lot of experience. So I just got them all to level 5 because why not? That's what I do. And we beat this boss, and then we hear Mayfair scream that, oh, there's a thief in the castle. And we go up and we see a knight of some sort, like another one of these centaur guys, and he's like, oh no, I gotta get out of here. So he like he has a sword of Hyjal, he uses it against the back wall, blows a hole into that, and escapes. So we chase after him immediately. And the goofball guys continue to be like comic relief, sort of. So we skip to we go to the next map, and this game's set up exactly like Shining Force Gaiden 1, or the first half of this, where there's not really towns. We're not really doing anything outside of combat besides going to like a screen. It's like the exact same screen, only instead of Lowell, this time it's Mayfair, who's doing promotions, saving, resurrecting, all the town stuff that you would need to do besides shop. So we see the guy, he's running, he sees us follow him, he calls for like Dwarf, so our best friend enemy, the Dark Dwarf, shows up, and he's like, oh, you're getting caught, get the fuck out of here, we'll take care of this. And so then all the monsters, and then main character, mage, and one of the knights, we hop down very easily, and then the goofballs show up behind, and they like were having struggles trying to get out of the castle gates and all that bullshit. So then they hop down, and they're like, all right, time to start battle. And then that starts battle number 2. We push our way up through this dwarf, kick his ass, and then we continue on to a nearby village where the thief, the knight, the bowman, I'm assuming, because they already have 2 knights, has run away too. And once we get there, Mayfair and Comrade go looking around. There's no one in the village except like the merchant, who's like, hey, you want to buy anything? And we're like, no, we'll be back. We'll come back later. Because we want to upgrade our items from like our shitty beginning items to like, I don't know, regular items. Something that's slightly better across the board. But we run into Slade. Slade's a priest-looking guy. He's a priest. He like heals and stuff. He never claims to be a priest, but he obviously that's what his job is. And he's like, I can't tell you anything. If I tell you anything, it's going to harm the people of this village. And the Mayfair rightfully deducts that the village people have been taken ransom so that they can get the sword. And he's like, yeah, how'd you know? Well, as soon as we get the sword, they'll release everybody. And Mayfair's like, do you really think they're going to keep their promise? And the priest is like, well, yeah. And she's like, really? And he's like, maybe. And she's like, really? And he's like, all right, I don't believe it. And she's like, well, we can go save everybody, so join us. And so he does. So now we have another healer, which is nice. We then go fight like an evil knight, centaur guy, and his cronies. Beat the shit out of all them. We kind of I spent some time here leveling up Slade, who's the new priest. And I also bought new items, but then somehow I sold the one for Natasha, who's our mage. I was looking at the names a little closer this time around so I could remember some of them. So we get everybody up to level 7, and then we learn that after we kind of clear the village out, we need to go to the cliffs and climb up the cliffs. So we do that, we fight some more enemies, and when we get to the cliffs, we run into, I'm trying to remember what his name is. It's like Graham, I think, is the bow archer guy, and he's like, oh, snap! So he runs to like this shack, and this like dark archer guy comes out. He's like, the fuck, they followed you. Go hide away with the sword. We'll take care of this. And they don't, because they kick the shit out of him. Once we're into there, then there's a dark mage, a dark wizard, and he's like, give me the sword, Graham. And he's like, no, I don't want to. I want you to release the villagers first. And so then he gets like backstabbed by somebody, one of the cronies of the dark mage. And then we show up, and he's like, oh, get those motherfuckers. And so it's time to grind out again at this point. So after we grind out in this little area for a little bit, we finally go kill the black mage, or the dark mage, whatever it is. And then he teleports away, and everyone's like, "Oh no, we gotta find out where he is because he's got the sword and he teleported away." So we're like moving around, looking, and then we see him, and he like hands the sword off to a gargoyle that he summons, and he starts flying off, and someone's like, "Stop that gargoyle!" And then Graham like busts out of the thing, which he looked like he got fucked up, but I guess he's okay. And he rolls out, and since he's a centaur archer guy, he shoots down the gargoyle, which is great. But the problem is that the gargoyle like falls because we're like at the top of this like cliff mountain area, and he's so grateful that we saved all the people and we helped him, and the only reason he was being a bad boy was because they threatened the people of his village. So now he's going to join the Shining Force, which is nice because it's our first archer, and then we get our second archer like immediately in the next battle. But for now, we got Graham. He shoots the gargoyle down, and he's like, "Oh, it's over at King Edmund's or King Ed something's land. Let's go talk to him." So So that ends chapter 1. Is that the end of chapter 1? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that. So that's the end of chapter 1. We decide we're gonna follow and see what's going on. We gotta get the sword back. So we start chapter 2 with the map where Graham's like, "Oh shit, I'm kind of lost. I know it's over here somewhere." And then we see this archer arguing with the guard, and the guard's like, "It's the Shining Force, something, something." And the archer's like, "Wait, I got questions. You seem like you're kind of sketch." And the guard's like, "Shut the fuck up." And he like pushes him across the water, like the moat to the castle, and then shuts the drawbridge, and then turns into a monster. And the archer's like, "Oh damn, you're monsters!" And we're like, "Oh fuck, they got the sword. Let's do this." And so then we massacre all them, and then we enter into the town, the castle. Oh, we meet Chester, I think is his name, who's the archer, and he joins the Shining Force as well. And he's like, "Oh, you guys did a great job. Thanks for taking care of the monsters. We gotta go warn the king, and I'm sure the king will give you the sword. I just gotta go talk to him. We're like super homies or whatever." So then we go to the giant throne room, and Chester goes up and he's like, "Hey, these guys are from Cyprus. They're here to get the sword back that was stolen. They just want to know what they need to do to get it back from you because now you have it." And then the king's like, "Oh, I'll never give it back to him." And then he transforms into Gordon. And Gordon, I don't remember what I called him before, but he's the guy that Wardaria sent to get the sword, and he killed the king and mimicked him, and then all the guards and everything are monsters, obviously. So then he's like, "Kill those motherfuckers," and then he opens up a passage, and he like destroys the castle by creating it just creates a bunch of like fucking holes in the ground and ruins, and he collapses like the ceiling onto Comrade, who steps out of the way at the last second. And then he opens up a passage behind the throne, and he runs away. And so we grind a little bit here, then we go. I think I played through this map like 3 times because it was like there's a lot of guys like real close, so it's easy to like just kind of get my guys up to like level, I think I'm like 11 or 12 at this point. So we push on through, we kill these guys, and then May, I think, who's like a beast man lady mage, she shows up and she's like, "Oh, I'm the king. I'm King so and so." It's like mage, and I came as soon as I saw the kingdom was being like attacked. And Mayfair is like, "I'm sorry, I got some bad news for you. The king's dead, and this guy we're chasing after, he's impersonated the king, and we gotta go." And she's like, "Oh, let me help you get through the tunnels. The tunnels are really confusing and shit, so I'll be able to help you figure that out." And then she joins the Shining Force, and now we got a second mage. So we head down into the tunnels, and there's Gordon being a real asshole. And so we grind out a little bit more here because, of course, we got 2 new guys. We got Chester and May, and I want to get them up to like everybody else, which is like 12, 13 at this point. We're getting close to like promotion level for at least the physical fighters. And then I have like one of my healers is like already level like 16 because they can just heal and get experience like every turn constantly, which is pretty grand. So we push our way. The guy summons zombies. We kill those fucking things, and then we kill him. And he's already sent the sword, but he's like, "Oh, you motherfuckers! Too bad for you. I already sent the sword on ahead." Oh no! I think we get the sword here. Yes. Oh no! So we got the sword from him. So now we got the sword in our inventory. He's like, "Motherfuckers! There's no hope for you. You're still gonna get fucked over." And then he dies. And then Mayfair's like, "All right, cool. We got the sword. Let's go. Let's BTFO." And then Comrade's like, "Yeah, sure, went up." But then they hear a voice, and the voice is like, "Ooh, you could have run away already? Well, your forces have been decimated, and King Nick has been captured. So if you want to rescue him, you have to come to the port town of Portobello or something." And Mayfair's like, "I don't believe you." And he's like, "Ooh, you better believe me." And so then we decide we're going to follow after it. So we go through the tunnel, and we get to the docks of Portobello. And as soon as we get there, we get attacked by the forces of Yam, who are like, hey, it's a Shining Force, let's fuck the... Or it doesn't... I don't think they even call it a Shining Force. They're like, hey, it's the forces of Cyprus, let's fuck those guys up. And then the battle commences. So we head... we beat back the Yam forces at Portobello and learn that Nick did indeed get captured. The wizard, like, confesses as much. And that we need to take a boat to go rescue him. So we attack the docks. This is pretty smooth. Get everyone to level 14. Kick the shit out of the enemy. But as we board, there's a trick. It's a trap! So half our forces get split up. Because some of the forces that survived the ambush from the Yam that were with King Nick show up and they get off the boat. It's a trap! And some of our forces, like Natasha and Eric, I want to say, the night guy, they get off. But then the rest of us are like, oh, damn, we're stuck on this fucking thing now. So we get split in half. So we follow Comrade and Mayfair and the main force of the Shining Force that we have at this point. And we're attacked on the boat. But we're able to get some of the team promoted. Pretty much all the fighters, right? Because we're going to promote them at 15 as the guide I am following on RPGshrines.com suggests. And then we're going to try to push Comrade and the magic users up to level 20. Because this game's not already easy enough. But then after we promote, we kick the shit out of everybody, and we continue our assault on Algam Forest, where Nick is being held. So once we land, we kill a sorceress that's in our way. But then the ground's kind of broken up here. And then the sorcerers, right before they die, they like create more problems, and so we all fall into a hole. At this point, we switch back over to Natasha, who's the wizard lady, who's being guided by Sarah. Sarah is the healer from at the end of the first game. No, wait. Is she? Is she from Shining Force 1? Is that her name? Anyway, it's another Beastman healer, just like... Oh, no, she was a magic user in the first game. Okay, so I don't think I've experienced this Sarah character before, but I guess she works with Nick, and she's a healer, and so she advises Natasha and crew. So we have Natasha, Eric, we get joined by another knight. The knight's from the first game. I never used him. It's the old man knight, Randolph, I think, or Rudolph, something like that. And then we have... Oh, and also I forgot the monk is here as well. The monk being Luke. Okay. So we also spend time here getting our guys, because the new characters we're picking up are already promoted. So we get May. Is it May? I think it's May. May and Graham. Oh, Graham was the other one. May, Graham, and Luke. I don't get Luke promoted yet. I just get May and Graham promoted. So we got May. Yeah. So we have like 5 people. Okay. So we're in this waterfall area. We push up the waterfall. I get people up. We promote. And when we rescue the village, we meet another gladiator, which is like the dwarf warrior class. And they and he mentions like, oh hey, thank you for rescuing us. We were forced to build Yam, and then we were forced to build the fortress. And so we know it's like one weakness, and so they were going to slaughter us all so that nobody knows it's weakness. But now that you guys have rescued us, I'm going to come join you, and I'm going to help you find the way in. And so the weakness is attacking from the top, and it's pretty easy to attack from the top because we just like climb up on a cliff that's very close to the top, and then we rope down. And then once we're there, we hear some guys talking about they've been capturing royalty and sacrificing them to Yam, like at the very beginning of this game. We saw them do that, and so that's why they got Nick, and they're going to sacrifice Nick to Yam to gain more power, and Wardaria is being like a real asshole. And once we hear that, Sarah freaks out and is like, no! And so everyone at the fortress is like, Merp! And so then we battle across the rooftops of this fortress, back beating the shit out of everybody until we get inside. And once we get inside, we get taunted that this like zombie guy... Oh, no, it's the skeleton guy, like the dead hand or whatever his name is using the power of Solo, one of the generals of the armies of Yam, to make the whole place dark so we can't see a lot of the bad guys, which is, they do it fun. So first of all, we can only see like in a circle around where we're at, kind of like a Dragon Quest situation when you're using a torch. But also, enemies will like just randomly appear, right? Because technically they're hidden with the magic, so they don't appear until like they're ready to appear to attack, which is cute. I like the way they handle that. It's pretty good. I gotta say. There's nothing too hard here. I just kind of kick the shit out of them, run through. I think I reset it once just to like get my guys more evenly leveled out. And then we kill the dead hand. He's like, no, fuck you. And so we defeated the impenetrable fortress, but I guess that's not really that impenetrable. And also didn't really contain much. But we switched back over to Comrade and his group. So him and Mayfair are stuck in these like lava tunnels, and I guess they've been traveling for a while. And then they bump into these guys, and these guys are trying to set up like an ambush for the Shining Force when they come. But little do they realize the sorceress like did them dirty by sending us down here which caused us to bump into them so that we can murder them. So we do. And it's pretty funny. There's a lot of flying guys in here, and I'm like, why do you send all these flying guys to hang out in like caverns? Whatever, fuck it, doesn't matter. Oh, I also forgot that on the boat, speaking of flying guys, on our boat we met a new friend. Our new friend is Cloud. If you remember Cloud, Cloud's one of the best characters from the Shining Force Gaiden 1. So he's back because he's obviously a part of the Nick's army, and he's another guy who survived. So hooray! So we got that guy, and he's still fucking fantastic. And so we kick our way through here. We get everybody promoted up except for Comrade and the girl mage lady. What's her name? I don't remember. Doesn't matter. But they're getting close. They're like 18, 19 or whatever. So once we get to the end, it's a dead end. And Mayfair's like, oh no, it's a dead end. Now what are we going to do? And then she sees like a patch of light. And she's like, what's this? Oh, look, it's a patch of light that goes up to the sky. And then that voice we heard from earlier that was like taunting us about Nick being alive and that we got to keep going or he's going to be sacrificed is like, oh, ho, ho, I see you're trapped. Maybe I can help you. And then Mayfair's like, who the fuck are you? And he's like, ooh, hoo, 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 and throws us a rope. So we climb out. And when we climb out, there it is. There's everybody. So our friends, Natasha and her crew, and Comrade and their crew, they all meet up again. And Natasha and Comrade hug it out in my headcanon because they go up and like stand right in front of each other but don't say anything. So that's fun. So I guess they're a couple in my head. Just like Mayfair and Nick. But, all right. So that's super cutesies and suchies. So they're all together, and it's like, all right, time to camp and figure it out. And so then I got to like resettle my team. So I kick Jaha and Eric out because fuck those guys, and I keep Randolph and the new Gladiator because they're better, higher leveled, and have better items. So good. So now we have our new Shining Force. We get additional healers. So now we got 3 healers. We got everyone's promoted, but the 2 mages, Natasha and the other one. And then and Comrade, but everyone else is promoted. So we start the next battle, which is leading up to the city or the fortress of Yalm, so we can rescue Nick. And the guys standing outside the city are like, all right, cool, they're here. It's time for the ambush. And then this flying guy shows up and he's like, oh, hey, about that ambush, they killed it. They killed everybody. So there's no ambush. And they're like, oh, fuck. That's right, bitches. Eventually we get everybody up to level 20 and get them promoted. I actually promote the mages to level 19. I'm like, they're getting like 1 experience points from killing monsters at this point, so I'm like, I'm good. We push through, we kill the death hand, or it was like a zombie of some sort. Anyway, and then we enter the fortress, Solo's fortress. Once we're there, we get a little scene between Solo and Barbara, I think is her name, and they're chatting with each other aggressively, and then they get to like a spat and start fighting, and then Warderer shows up, and we find out that they're going to sacrifice the king of Ildim, or they're going to resurrect him or something. Anyway, so Warderer stops the fighting and is like, you guys need to calm the fuck down. And then Green Armor guy's there as well, and then Warderer is like, I have a suspicion there's and then they're about to like go sacrifice or do something, and then someone's like, oh, it's the army of Cyprus. I guess we're not the Shining Force in this game, which is kind of weird. Anyway, so it's the army of Cyprus. Oh no, how did they get through? Oh, I feel like we have a traitor on our midst, and I think I know who it is. Oh no, he says that Warder announces that there's a traitor and is about to announce who he thinks it is right before Barbara's like, the army of Cyprus is here, and then everyone's like, all right, we're gonna leave. Solo, you got this. And Solo's like, I do got this. I'm gonna take care of these motherfuckers. And then they all kind of skedaddle. And so then we come, and it's time to assault. During this map, because I have a guide, I'm able to find this ninja shinobi character. I think he's supposed to be shinobi because he looks like a ninja, but his title's like SHNB, right? So shinobi would make sense. But the way you find him is from where the hero / comrade is standing. You just walk up to the wall right in front of him and search it. Why would you ever do that? You may ask. I don't know. I guess if you walk up to everything and search everything, then eventually you'll randomly stumble into some of this stuff. But yeah, and it's another one of those things with these old games where it's like, what the fuck, game? Like, there's no hint, no like, hey, this is a thing you might want to consider looking at or be concerned with or whatever. It's just like, whatever. And then after you search there, he's like, ah, wow, you found me. That was really impressive. I'm like, yeah, that was fucking impressive. How? He's like, we got to come find me again. And then he disappears again. And you're like, all right, so somewhere else on this map, you got to search in a random fucking wall again to find this guy. And that random wall is like a pillar at the very top of the map, right around where Solo's at. And why would you search there, you may ask? You just search everywhere. You just walk up to every wall until the option to search comes. Because search is not a natural function. It only appears when there's actually reason to search, like in front of a treasure chest or whatever. Outside of that, it doesn't really let you search ever. So, fuck. Anyway, so we get the Shinobi. There's like a whole bunch of treasure chests with a whole bunch of sweet-ass weapons, like the heat axe. Yes! So excited. So then we egress out of there so we can equip and change our party, get rid of that fucking monk. We don't need that asshole no mo with his like shitty healing spells. Now we got Shinobi time. So once we get our Shinobi friend, everyone's promoted, we push our way through. I guess this is Algum Forest. This is Algum Fortress because after we kill Solo, he's like, "Wait, the traitor is!" And then he dies. And then Mayfair gets concerned and she pulls like Comrade aside and is like, "Hey, do you know what the fuck they're talking about with all this traitor stuff?" And you're like, "Shake head no," because I'm mute or something. I don't know. Anyway, she seems very concerned about the whole matter. And then we see Barbara and I think his name's Hilden. He's the our blue armor guy. They have like a terse conversation where Barbara's like, or Hilden's like, "Oh, we should do something with Prince Nick or King." I think they call him Prince, even though he's a king at this point. I could have sworn someone said Prince at some point, so that's just a mistranslation. And then Barbara's like, "I was told by Warder specifically not to trust you, and that there's concerns." And then Hilden, they go back and forth, and he's like, "Whatever. What do you want to do? You're in charge." And she's like, "You're going to come with me to the shrine, so we're going to have a talk about this, and we'll bring Prince Nick. The rest of you, stay the fuck here and hold off the army of Cyprus," because, again, they're not the Shining Force in this game for some reason, even though it's a Shining Force game. Because some undead guy's like, "Oh, look at that. They're coming." Yep. So then Barbara and Hilden, armor guy, they head off, and we start the next battle. So after we punch through this new layer of combat in this battle, we find Gaiden. And if you don't remember Gaiden, he's from Shining Force Genesis 1. He was like the beast man I never used, or I might have used him once. Anyway, he's back, and he was Sneaky Potamus, according to him, so he was not captured with the rest of like Nick's contingent army, and he was able to sneak out. But he knows where the shrine is. If you remember, the shrine is where they're taking Nick, so they can sacrifice him. So he leads us there. Once we're there, we see Warderer being super. He's like, you gotta get this guy in here, and Yom needs a sacrifice right now. And then the whole shrine like shakes, and he's like, "Oh shit, Yom's pissed. He needs that royal sacrifice so that he can be reborn. He needs it right now." And then Hilden, the armor guy, and Barbara show up with Nick, and they're like, "We got him." And then someone's like, "Oh, the Shining Force is here." Golly, excuse me. And Barbara's like, "You guys go inside and take care of that. I'll take care of these assholes." And so Hindle and Warderer, they go ahead and head inside. And we begin. We fight at the entrance to the shrine. And we just wander up. And, here there's a statue right in front of the party that if we search, we get a samurai. So I kick Natasha out because she's really been lagging behind. Like, everybody's like level 10 post-promotion. And her and May, the other mage, are like level 4. And, like, magic in this game is... not that it's like shitty, but it is. It's kind of shitty. Like to cast like spells that do a decent amount of damage, it takes like you can only cast them like 2 or 3 times per battle, and so these characters are like really limited. And yeah, they do like a large area of effect, but it's just like the mana count is not there. That was one of the biggest things about Domingo, and even I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but the wizard from the first Shining Force game is that after the promotion, they really like their MP like shot up, and both the mages. Both the healers, who granted are like level 15 at this point because they get experience every time they heal themselves. They're sitting at like 50, 60 MP, right? And then the regular healing spell heals like 20 hit points, and most guys have like maybe 40. So like it's as long as I'm like topping people off, I never run out of like MP for healing. But if I'm trying to cast like, and then a lot of undead are strong against ice too, which May only has like freeze magic and bolt magic. And bolt magic costs 8 MP, and she's got like maybe 30, and then her like all her free spell that like is decent and has a decent range costs like, it costs a lot. It's like 12 or 13, so it's really like, again, 2 shots. And then even like Natasha, her blaze spell, which is the best, I think it costs like 12 to do like the attack. And if I do like the regular blaze, which only costs 2 MP, it does like nothing. Like it won't even like, I don't think it even does 10 damage against most people. And it's like, that's just not worth it, because dudes are hitting. Like my melee fighters are hitting for like 20 plus, easy. So it's just like, there's no point. So I bring the samurai in with her, and or trade them out, and then I level him up a little bit, kind of level everybody up. We push our way through this portion, and I thought there was another map I kicked through afterwards. All right, I had to look at my notes. So Wodal's back. So yeah, after we kill Barbara, we enter the shrine. In the first part of the shrine, and we're like at the end of the game. Like there's like 3 levels left, and like the last 2 levels are like the dual battle that Shining Force loves to do, where it's like you go from one map to the next like immediately. So you always got to prepare for that. And I haven't gotten there yet when I'm recording this, but obviously that's how it's going to be. So we pretty much have like 2 battles left, or yeah. So Wodal is the big bad boss from the previous game. I guess when he died, the spirit of anger kept him alive enough so that he could be an undead monster. And so he's back, and he's doing his normal bolt trick or whatever. My guys are pretty over-leveled. Like most of my guys are hitting like almost 15 at this point. Well, most guys are hitting like 12. I got some guys higher, like 13, 14, 15. And then I have so many like ranged attacks and everything. So we're just kind of, we just kick the shit through this portion, roll up to Wodal, and just beat his ass. I did egress a couple times at this point just because I wanted to make sure some of my lower level guys, like the samurai who was at 9 at the start of this, could get some levels and kind of catch up with everybody. So they're, you know, I just don't want to have anybody be lagging behind too much. But that was it. Like he'd get like hit a couple. I'd move him up to like attack, and then he'd get gang raped. And so I was like, all right, let's try this again. But it was not hard. It was just my own wanting to grind out and be even more powerful desire that made this happen. So we kill Wodal. He's like, no, I am dead for now. Why am I melting? Oh, melting. And he dissolves away, I guess. It's kind of weird. But he does drop the Sword of Light, which is we've had the Sword of Hyjal the whole time, which was the sword that was used by Nick to destroy the manifestation of whatever. I don't know if it was even Yom in the previous game, and then, you know, then his arm got turned to stone by Wodal or whatever. That being said, we can't equip it, so I don't know if Nick's gonna like pop in the last battle to like help out, and then we can equip him with it at that point. We'll see. Yeah, so we head on into we had to camp. But then it's off to the final battle with King Warder and Yom. So this game wraps up with a bang. A lot of stuff happens in these last 2 battles. So we head in there, and Hindel's getting the shit kicked out of him by Warrior, and he's about to sacrifice Prince Nick, and that's when we show up, and we're like, hey, motherfucker, and it's like, oh, you're the traitor, blah, 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 something, back and forth, and Warrior's like, whatever, I'm still going to kill Prince Nick, there's nothing to do about it, and then Yom's going to come, and it's going to be great for me. And then Hindle like pushes him and rescues Nick, and then Nick's like, you were right, Hindle, thanks for being a betrayer. And there's some translation issues here in that I have there's like a conversation hinting at other stuff that happened that I was not aware of before. But anyway, so Hindle apparently betrayed Warrior because Warrior sent Comrade to battle, I think in the first what do they call it? First Gaiden game, because he's the Green Knight, and so because he sent him to fight and he got defeated, he thought he was dead, and so then he was going to betray Warder. But then they find him later, and he's kind of lost some of his memory. So he was like the bad guy, one of the bad guys in the first game, but now he's the main character of this game. That's what I'm reading. I don't know if I got that exactly, but I'm pretty sure that is what happened. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that's my canon for now. Until proven otherwise, go ahead and comment if I'm just a complete dipshit about this whole thing. But till then, that's what happened. So we fought the green-suited guy in the first game. That's brother of Hindle, who is, I think they call him Deanna, if you go with like the regular name, but Comrade in my version. So And then Prince Nick comes off, and somehow his because Warder's like magic was disrupted because of what Hindle did or something. Nick has his arm back, so now he can use the Sword of Hyjal again, which is important because then we fight Warder, and after we defeat him, he sacrifices, or before he does that, he throws Hindle into the fire, and then we fight him. And Comrade's like all sad because like his brother was killed right in front of his eyes, but he did it to save him and save everybody. And so so then we kicked the shit out of Warder, an extremely easy battle. And then, yes, it was immediately into the next battle, but then I hit Egress by accident, and then it just took me to the final battle. So that's nice. I don't have to, like, replay the whole fucking thing like in the first Shining Force game. But after we kill Warder, he's like, I'm not dead yet! And then he jumps into the fire and sacrifices himself, and since he's royalty as well, that summons Yam. And Yam pops up in the middle of this, like, fiery cavern. And, yeah, I mentioned this before, that, oh, there's a treasure chest in the corner. I never got it. I was going for it, but I killed Warder. Like, he died so fast. It was ridiculous. But it is the map from like the very beginning intro cinematic scene. So we arrived. Okay. Next is okay. So we sacrifice Yam comes up, and then we have to fight Yam and some Yam worms. And this battle was pretty tough. I had to repeat it once, and then I died a second time because I was trying to like. He takes up like a whole row, like he takes up like 5 spaces. His sprite, but you can only attack melee. Can only attack like 1 space. So you really have 2 melee attackers because you have 1 flyer and then whoever can hit him. But then I have like 2 archers, and the magic users are like pieces of shit, so that's not worth it. And then we have 1 spearman or 1 javelin thrower with the centaurs. So I technically have, and that's pretty much how I beat him. Was I just put like an archer over here on one side, and then the spear thrower on the other side, and then I had my other archer, but they got killed, Chester. So I just had the archer and the spear thrower essentially just stand on 2 opposite sides and just chuck shit at him until he died. And then I'd have like 1 melee character at a time go up and just like hit until they died and then went up. And I sent Cloud, the birdman, up to hit him from behind, but he like meleeed him to death like in like 1 hit. Granted, he was already injured, then I forgot to like heal him, but it is what it is. It's pretty tough because he does this like demon breath thing, which is like bolt 4 level of kind of like attacks. It'll kill people in like 2 hits. So if he does that, and then he attacks twice per turn, he does that, and then he has like a melee attack. So the melee guys, like, you just gotta like sacrifice them until you get through. So the first time I went through, I was like he's like summoned. It's one of those battles again where he endlessly summon guys on the side. And so I was like too busy trying to fight that, and then when I finally beat it, I was like, fuck those guys, I'm not even gonna worry about it, so I didn't. And then I just like ran straight up in the middle, killed the worms real quick, which are pretty tough, and they also have like this demon breath thing, but it only hits like 4. It does like the small cross and not like the giant cross, like the other demon breath does. And then I used like my healing rain, which heals everybody to max. I think Sarah is her name, the healer, not Slade, the other healer. She has aura, so if I leveled it up a little bit more and got like aura 4, that does the same thing. It heals like everybody, so that would have been another thing to do, but I didn't need to. Okay, and again, because he's like a demon boss, kind of like in the first game when we killed Dark Dragon, we have to use Nick with the Sword of Hyjal, which is like, it's not the Chaos Breaker, but I don't think we had to do that with Wardell in the first Gaiden game. In this one, you have to hit him as long as you hit him as soon as you hit him with the Hyjal sword. Then you can, and if everyone else can hit him, but until that point, you can't do any damage to Yam. But so I sacrificed Nick first. I sent him in. He got sacrificed up. And then after he took his lumps, I sent up like the dwarf, and then I think the archers just finished him off. I was gonna move like Comrade up because he has the light sword and does the most damage, yeah. So that's that. And then he dies, and then Comrade's like, oh no, brother, I have to go save him from the lava pit that he just died in. And then at this point, and this was kind of hinted at earlier on, but Natasha is like in love with Comrade, and she's like, no, you're gonna leave us, I can't stand it. And then Nick's like, all right, everybody, shut the fuck up, let's just get out of here, this whole place is collapsing. So then we all run for our lives, and then it's like sometime later, we're all back in Cyprus, and everyone's on guard duty like at the very beginning of the game. And Mayfair comes out, and Natasha's like very concerned, but they're all talking about Comrade and what's he gonna do. And they're like, I think he's gonna leave. And like, oh, I can't believe he's gonna leave. And it's like, well, he's been through a lot. He just needs to kind of figure some shit out and, do his own thing. And then Gaiden comes out and he's like, all right, well, it looks like he's gonna leave. And then Nick and Comrade come out, and then Nick's like, hey man, anytime you're always welcome to come back and hang out, but I understand what you want to do, and we'll miss you, and something, blah, blah, blah. And then he's about to leave, and then someone's like, hey, Natasha, maybe you should talk to your boyfriend over here. And she's like, I'm going to do it. And so she runs up, and she's like, wait. And then she falls on her face. Pawashas. And then we get like a scene of them. We get like a, not like a sprites, like the whole game's in sprites. We get this like scene with like the outro that's like them leaving and her looking, they're both looking back at like all their friends and kind of like saying goodbye. And it's like, and therefore Comrade and Natasha left and had the many adventures going forward in the future, yada, yada, yada. Meanwhile, King Nick or Prince Nick continued to rule Cyprus in peace. The end. So this is good stuff. I really enjoyed this. It was just as fun. I feel like it was a little easier than the first one. I feel like I leveled up quicker. But yeah, it was really enjoyable. I had a really good time playing through it. The story was good. All the the memory loss, and so it was a lot of repeats of that kind of stuff. Where it's like, ooh, what's the mystery? This guy has amnesia. Oh, I figured it out. I'm closely related to one of the bad guys, or like I'm tied into this whole situation. Wow, crazy stuff. It was nice to have that extra fighter at the very end, Nick, just to kind of help out with stuff. But yeah, so that's Saga. That's Shining Force, Gaiden 2, Sword of Hyjal, I think is what the official title is. But that's the Sega CD stuff. So there's one more Gaiden game before we get to Shining Force 2, and that one is going to be on Game Gear because they never did a port. So all these games were on the Game Gear originally. So the Sega CD version of these games is like a 16-bit upgrade, which is why I played them because might as well. But the final one's going to be on Game Gear, and that's Final Conflict. And I don't think it has anything to do with this. Like the Gaiden 1 and Gaiden 2 are like a continuous story. I'm pretty sure Final Conflict, and we'll get there when we get there, it's like a continuation somewhat of like Shining Force 1's characters, like Max, who's the main character from that, and the android. But yeah, that'll come up. But yeah, so both the Gaiden games, great if you get an opportunity. The hardest thing is just trying to get the Sega CD to run. But if you like Fire Emblem games, if you're into any of this kind of like these kind of old school tactics style games, it's definitely, they're fantastic. If you like Shining Force 1 and 2, these are like, they're much simplified, but they're just like fun, easy kind of like romps that have good stories and good characters, and there's like a little bit of stuff you can do, but it's like a mobile version essentially, right? Because it was a game. These are all Game Gear games, but they're fantastic and still great to play. So go ahead and highly recommended. So go ahead, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you guys later.